Okay guys, I'm super excited for the lesson we're going to talk about today in math because we're going to learn more about fractions, which we've been talking about earlier in this year, right? So who remembers what a fraction is? Holly?
It's not a whole number.
It's not a whole number. Anybody else remember something? Scott?
It's kind of when you compare part of the number to the whole number.
Yeah, part and whole, those were those key words from that definition, right? So if I have these two parts of a circle, when I put them together, it makes that whole circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So each of these parts themselves, these are the fractions, and we know we can put them together to make the whole. So we're going to do some discovery learning today because mathematicians do that all the time. It really helps it stick in their brains better. So what I want you to try to do you notice how when I put these pieces together, they match up exactly? Ashley, why don't you pass that around? So if they match up exactly like that, do you think that they are representing the same amount or different amounts?
Same.
Same, yeah. So we want to see if we can put other pieces together to try to represent the same amounts. So you can use all of these fraction pieces and you can do it with the 1/2, but you can either try to do some of the other pieces and just work with your partner. You can turn to your shoulder partner next to you. I want you to try to find what pieces can work together to be the same amount. So you can put them on top like that. I think that's a good way, or just kind of move them around, whatever you feel like is best.
Yeah, then yellow, and see how many yellows we put on top there.
How many do you think it's going to be?
2.
How'd you know that?
Because I'm just looking at the shape of the yellow, and once you put the first one on, it looked like it took about
I think it's
half of it.
there's
Wow,
a tiny,
that's
tiny little
insightful.
part that's right there that's showing green.
No, I think it fits.
Okay.
Oh, we have
So
the same
that's
one.
good.
Should we do it? Let's do a stack. of
So
them.
it's 4, 8.
So this will be the 1/2. Oh wait, we need this.
4, 8.
Okay.
How do you say that?
Okay, let's do
4,
pink. It's my
8.
favorite
4, 8. 8. Equals 1 1/2.
Okay.
Yeah, the wording can be a little bit tricky.
That's not gonna
sometimes,
work, because
right?
there's not enough space left for that second one, so the
Yeah.
pinks are not gonna work.
I'm pulling Scott. You can just tell by looking.
Yeah, are you noticing the shapes, how they're connecting?
I really want to do something with these thirds here.
Those aren't gonna work either.
So that looks like a lot of things
That
don't
doesn't
match.
match.
I'm starting to
I got
notice
another
something,
one.
the ones that didn't work,
That
that,
looks like the same look. I got it.
the denominator was an odd number, and this denominator
I
is
really
even, so
wanna do
you
the
gotta pick
thirds.
tiles that have even numbers in the denominator.
Oh, that's good noticing.
Okay,
Because over here, we've got 2 and
Oh,
4.
look at how close
this should work.
That's
Yeah, so I
close.
think
Does
that's
that
gonna
work?
Yeah,
I
because
don't
it's
know.
10 and even are odd number.
Miss
Right, it's an
Kaylee,
even number.
is this the same? It's so close.
Nice job.
Let's look.
Okay.
Ooh,
5.
what number are you trying to match it up with?
1/3.
What do you
And
guys think?
you could
I
also,
think probably
5,
not.
5
It's
is
very
half of
close.
10, so that's kinda
It's
cool.
not exact.
Yeah, Maggie, that's a good point to remember that we've got to be really exact in math. Because what if, here, a fact you know, what if someone said to you, 2 plus 2 equals 5? What would you say to them?
You're wrong.
Yeah, because what if they said to you, but 4 is close to 5?
Do you think this is gonna?
But it's not
Is
exact.
this
Mhm.
I think it is gonna
Really
work because-
important that we
Numbers.
practice really exact when we're doing math.
So it has to be
I-
exactly the same.
I like how you guys were trying with different colors, but that was good
What
notice.
color do we not use?
Okay,
yet?
try something.
And Miss
orange,
Williams,
yellow.
Yeah.
Holly and I are noticing something too, like,
Mhm.
Oh, that works.
on the purple ones,
Ooh, do we do
it took
red?
5 of them
Do red.
to form that blue one, and we realized that 5 is half of 10.
Oh.
And here it took 3 of these to make up the 1/2, and we noticed that 3 is half of 6.
That is good noticing how the pieces are connected, but also the numbers too.
Yes.
So
Ooh,
that would
this
be a
should
good
work.
thing to think about later.
Yes. Yeah, that should work too.
Yep.
Very good.
Okay.
Well, Ashley, did you find one with the third?
Now, do you
Yep,
wanna
it's-
go
No, we
and
found 6.
pick like
Two
a
sixes.
Are we
a
supposed to?
different combination
Are we
yet,
just
or
supposed to
not?
find halves or?
Or should we
No,
start
look,
experimenting?
Yeah,
Match.
once you're kind of figuring out the half, it looks like people are getting a good hand on that. See if you can try some of the other pieces and see if those fit
So like if
together.
we can find ones that equal
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Okay.
could.
this. Okay.
That could be your next
So now,
step.
what I think is, we
So
kinda
you put
found
all
a
these
pattern
things
here.
No,
I
I
got
just try this.
two
because I
good
like the
noticing,
color
yeah.
combination.
Okay, that
Six
doesn't work,
tenths.
obviously.
Yeah.
Is
So I
fifths.
think you,
Oh, that's good.
I like that
Oh.
one.
So-
What's the pattern?
Yeah, because
well,
they
I
can
think
line up
like
exactly.
you could find
And
a
actually, you're noticing
number
how all
that,
these pieces can
three
fit
goes
together.
into. So look
So
on,
what if I
pick
broke
a
them
piece.
apart like this?
pick a piece where the
Are the- would
denominator,
these be
three
the
will
same?
go into the denominator.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
not
that's
gonna
the
work,
same.
three doesn't go into eight.
and that's
Like-
the
What do you
same as
mean?
this.
3 times
Yeah.
2 is 6, 3
Okay,
times
really
3
good
is
there, 'cause
9,
that was
so
the
3
same.
does not go into 80. You
Yeah, and they all make that
find a
circle.
piece where the
Yeah.
denominator 3 goes in there.
Great
Like,
job.
you wanna find a multiple of 3.
Are you in the advanced math program?
Yes, I am, as a matter of fact.
All right, take about 1 more minute to finish up your discovery.
Why don't you just do it? I don't get it.
Don't give up. You can
Is
get
everything
it.
So-
okay, Holly?
I think she's gonna
He just-
cry.
he's like-
1/6 and 1/6, because 3
He's
goes
like
into
saying
6,
what I'm
so,
going into, I don't even get that.
so we needed 2 of those.
Yeah.
So,
Don't worry, Holly. I noticed you were finding a lot of good pieces earlier, and
Yeah.
it seems like
Oh,
Scott is
yeah.
understanding it a
I
little
love
quicker, but
the
you're
Yeah.
gonna
color
understand
Halloween.
it too.
Yeah.
Holly helped me to understand
That's
this
why I love
pattern with the
Mhm.
1/2,
It
so
looks
we,
like-
we've been a good
looks like-
team.
Good job.
Did you think,
Do that.
did we already try
It looks
8?
like
Yeah, we
a-
tried the 8s, it's not
not,
gonna
but
work
it's not.
because 3 doesn't go
It's
into
so
8.
close. That's so
Oh.
close. Oh my gosh, that's so annoying.
Is it?
Oh,
It's
but
not
there's
the
a
same.
little bit off, right? And we've gotta
It's
be
not the
exact,
same.
right?
And that's not the same either.
Oh, good try.
Okay, let's come back to the group in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Eyes up here. Great job, guys. That was really quick. So, who had some amounts that they found were the same? The pieces that were the same. Let's write some of those on the board. Anyone have one they want to share? Maggie?
2/4 equals 4/8.
And tell me why you said equals. How did you know to use that?
Because they're the same amount.
Yeah, an equal is when it's the same. Who else had one they wanted to share? Scott?
5/10 equals 1/2.
5/10 and 1/2.
We had more for 1/2.
Oh, you had more for 1/2.
Yes. Okay, we had
That one's already given.
2 4s, okay. And then we had 1, 2, 3, 6.
So I heard you guys notice that they had already said this one.
Oh yeah.
Could I connect all of these?
Yes.
Right? Are these all?
There's a lot
The
for a
same?
half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A half is a lot.
We had all of those.
Yeah, but
Really?
there's 2.
Good job.
4, 5. We had all of those.
Yeah. So we can see that there's a lot, 1/2 is the one we started with, right? But there's a lot of other pieces that had the same amount.
Oh, tell them the thing about 5 is half a 10.
Oh, we just noticed a little pattern going on that when we had our little tiles together, that when you added up the top numbers, like on these purple ones, 5 is half of the denominator, so 5 is half
Oh.
of 10. And it worked on all of them, like on the orange ones, if you add up the numerators, you had 3 of the orange tiles, so 3 is half of 6, and same with the reds, 4 is half of 8, so it's kind of a cool
Yeah,
pattern. we
that's a
noticed.
good pattern to notice. Ashley?
Okay, well, I saw that, like, if you make a hole, like, see these orange ones, they all have the number 6, so they're
Mhm.
all like 1 6, and then it's like 1 2 3 4 5, so 6 of them is a hole. And it
Yeah.
has numbers.
So it's like
Oh.
it's named by the number of
How
pieces
many
to make the
pieces?
whole. That is good noticing. Does that work for other ones too? Why don't you guys
Yeah.
use some of the tiles
4
to
of
see?
the 4s make a hole.
Yeah.
Oh.
She did that. Why don't you get the red ones out and see if you can get 4 more red ones, Holly, and see if we.
That's so
total
cool.
eight.
Uh-huh.
So we've got 4.
We need 4 more.
Does it work?
It should.
Yeah. So that's actually why we don't just pick those random names for the fractions. They
Oh, yeah.
do it
That's
because
cool.
the amount is how many of those pieces you need to make the whole. So that was a good thing to notice, a good thing to remember. Anyone else had amounts or fractions that they found out were the same or equal amounts?
Oh, yeah, 1
Ashley?
1/3 and 2 6.
1/3 and 2/6. Good. Maggie?
6/10 equals 3/5.
Oh, that's a good one.
Ooh, that's impressive.
6/10
Thanks. Maybe I should join the advanced math
fifths.
program.
I think you should.
Anything else? We've got a lot up here, so let's keep going. We've got these amounts and we wrote the equal sign because they all are the same amount. All of these are called equivalent fractions. Has anyone ever heard the word equivalent before?
Yes.
Yeah, you have. If you haven't heard the word equivalent, what word does it kind of sound like? Everybody say that out loud. Equivalent. What is it? In my mind, I start to hear another word. What does it kind of sound like? Ashley?
Equals.
Equal. And do you see how we've got the equal because they've got the same amount? So we're gonna start a new page in our math journal. So I'm passing out the math journals, and can you pass around the pencils?
Do you want us to put these away?
You can just push them towards the middle because we'll still use them later on.
Okay, thank you.
So in your math journal, start a new page, and at the top you're going to write equivalent.
You gonna spell that for us up there?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Equivalent. It's a long math word, but it really just means equal. So if you want, you can write a little equal sign under. That helps me remember. Equivalent fractions.
Should we copy down those equivalent fractions? in our
Yeah,
notebook?
this would be a good idea to copy down some of these, just because you can remember some of your discovery learning. And if you want, we can just start to draw some pictures too. So I'm gonna start drawing some of these 1/2 ones. So we had that 1/2 piece, and then it also had 3 of the 6ths. Does someone want to come up and try to draw another one? You can start with the 1/2. We drew one of
Okay.
the 3/6.
Sure, I'll,
Yeah,
Come
come
on.
on up, Scott. This is just so we can
should I
have
draw it right by yours?
Yeah, you can draw it right over here. This is just so we can have it in our math journal, so when we're looking back, we don't always have to bring the tiles out.
I couldn't remember what these were.
Oh, yeah. You can notice too, we've got 3 of these pieces, and so then I'll look, oh, those were the 6
Oh,
that we
yeah.
had 3 of.
Okay, thank you.
Scott, which one did you decide to draw up here?
I might have done this wrong. I thought we had the 1/4, but
Yeah, let's look
That's
at what
wrong.
he's done.
is that wrong?
But why don't you take a seat? We'll talk about this
Yeah, I
as a
think
class.
that's wrong.
So we've got our 1/2 and our 1/6. Scott drew the 1/2, and then he drew 4 pieces, but then labeled them as fourths. Some people are saying that that's wrong. Why do you think that's wrong, Maggie?
Because 4 of the 4s make a whole, like when you do this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3,
You have
4.
to draw them bigger because
Mhm.
they're like a bigger piece.
Or-
So only 2 would make a half.
Oh, because 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, when there's
That's a
4 pieces that make the whole like that, these are what the fourths are.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Maggie.
So
You're welcome.
it's tricky because we kind of think, oh, if it's a fourth, I'll just draw 4 pieces.
I should have put 1/8 in those. Right,
Good,
Ms.
right?
Williams?
Because he's
Where my
looking
fourths are
over
at?
here, and he
Yeah, 1,
knew
2, 3,
4
4.
pieces were equivalent, so he drew those 4 pieces, but really, yeah, good correction, they're 8ths.
Well, Maggie helped me with that, so.
You can look here because she told me a little trick, like what piece, what
Oh,
had
yeah.
4, it was the 8.
Yeah. Thanks,
So-
guys.
Another easy way to do that too, if you want, you could draw the 4 and then think, okay, I want to have half of this, so color in half, and then you can notice, oh, I only colored in
like
2
that.
of those
That's a
pieces.
good tip.
Ashley?
Why are some of those lines like slanted and like some of them are straight?
Mhm. Because when we're gonna draw these, we're thinking about this whole piece, so this whole amount. So if I want 6, I know I'm gonna have to draw 6 pieces, so I'm gonna think, okay, I've gotta have 6 total pieces in my circle or my pizza. And those are not exact, right? So,
But like, when you're writing like the numbers,
mhm.
like sometimes it's like over there.
Oh, the fraction.
Oh, yeah.
That is good noticing. Sometimes people will write it on top of each other like this, and that was a lot more neat. That's probably what I should have been doing. But sometimes people will write it with a slant like this. These two symbols are actually the same.
Same. And it's kind of like the same one goes on the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thanks.
But that was a little confusing, Ashley. Good pointing that out. I would say just stick with writing this one. That is the best, I think, for fractions.
Why do people do the other way?
Because sometimes they
Maybe
say
it'd be faster.
faster, or say if you're writing on a line, piece of paper like this, sometimes they want it to stick in one line. But we can just write,
like up and down.
Mhm.
Right, like
but we can just use 2 lines when we're doing our work. Really good noticing. Does anyone else feel like they're having other questions? Like Ashley said, she had a great question. Because we're gonna keep talking about equivalent fractions, they're the same amount. So we're gonna learn how to continue to make them, but this is kind of our beginning. So let's talk a little bit more about this coloring it. Oh, Holly?
So all of them, okay, so you know the one that it's like, there's 4 of the 8s?
Mm-hmm.
So does every piece has to be like the same size
Mhm.
of that? So,
Yeah.
okay, you can't just draw 4 lines. And,
Yeah.
I mean, they have to be,
Mm-hmm.
But
okay.
if you're not good at drawing and they're a little off, it's okay.
You're trying to do your best to make them the
Okay.
same
Yeah.
size, but they might not be exact.
It's kind of like these tiles. These are all pretty much the same size, but I don't expect you guys to be total perfect.
yeah.
Look, I just drew this up here. This is not the exact same amount,
Okay.
but just
But we
that's
get the
why we-
idea.
that's why we label it too, so we can know
Okay.
what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So move on to the next little section on your math journal, and we're gonna do a little bit more with kind of drawing and shading this in, because I think that is helpful to think about the equivalent fractions. So let's practice just drawing this whole circle together. Draw a big circle. And then, what kind of fraction, give us a fraction, what should we draw?
6.
6? Okay, so how many total pieces do we want to have in our circle?
6.
6 of them. So let's start, I'm gonna draw this first line. How many pieces do I have now?
2.
2.
2. But I need 6, right? So this is when you can kind of think about, you'll start to learn how to practice, okay, I can draw 2 more lines and then I'll go back and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Ooh, I like that.
And I've got 6 pieces.
How do you even know how to do that though? Like, how would you
I
know
know.
to do that
I know.
pattern?
It's tricky because fractions, we're kind of thinking about how these numbers are connected, and you'll start to be able to think about, okay, how many lines do I need to do is gonna give me the amount. So like for this one with a 6, I knew I needed 6 pieces. I drew 3 lines. Anyone notice a pattern to get from 3 to 6?
It's half.
It's half.
So you would
3 lines
Oh,
is
so
half of
you-
your 6
so you
pieces.
would do half. So if like it was 8, draw
Then I
8,
draw
you draw
4
4
lines.
lines.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
So look at this, I know that whatever amount of lines, actually, if what you guys are saying is good about the 1/2, whatever amount I need, I'm gonna divide that by half, and that'll tell me how many lines to make.
Could we just like use these and kind of like, then we could see it and then we would know, like I would know, okay, I need 3 pieces up here and 3 down here. Just
Mhm.
if we're trying
Yeah, we'll have,
Until
when
we
we're
get the
at
hang of
class,
it.
yeah, we'll have the manipulatives out and you can use those. So let's practice this trick again with another amount. If I, just to keep practicing our drawing, say I want to draw 8s. I want to draw my 8s. If I divide that by 2, how many lines am I going to have?
4.
4. So then I can go in and draw 1, 2, 3, 4. And it gives me my 8s. And
Yeah,
did you
I
guys-
like that connection too,
Mhm.
that, you know,
Did you guys notice how we're all making sure that our lines cross in the center too?
yes.
You wanna make sure that they all go through the center, so that is what's gonna make sure that your pieces are the same size. Okay, now that we've got our 8s, I want you to try shading in how many pieces of 8s are going to be equivalent to 1/2. So anybody think that they figured out how many pieces did you shade in to give you 1/2 of the circle? Scott?
4.
4. Let's check that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Does that look like 1/2 shaded in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Does it have to be like on the top though?
No,
No.
you could even have shaded it in kind of random like this.
Whoa.
I think it's easier to shade it together so you can see, but this is still 1/2 of your circle is colored in.
It doesn't even look like it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely is easier to see when you shade them all next
Yeah.
to each other.
So since we're just starting, this is our first day with equivalent fractions, let's make sure we shade them together for now, just so we can keep it in our head really well. Give me a thumbs up if you also got 4 8s that you had shaded in. Nice job. So 1/2 and 4 8s are, everybody see it?
Equivalent
fractions.
And why are they equivalent fractions?
They're the same.
They're the same amount, good job. Let's try one more for now, and then we're gonna move into groups to do some more practice. What amount do we wanna do? We've done 6, we've done 8s.
How about 12?
12 is really high for now, that's not for,
How about 10?
maybe later we can work with.
10.
Okay, how about 10?
10, good. So how many, think about 10, and I divide that by 2 to get the number of lines. How many lines do I need?
5.
5 lines, good, because I've got 10
It's gonna be hard.
divided by 2 equals 5. That's how many lines I need. So I'm gonna start, I'll do one line.
Oh, that's so hard to make them even. I just got 8, but I
I'm
need
gonna
one more.
do 2,
Yeah, it's hard to get them even, but you just do your
3,
best. Just make sure they all go through the center point.
5. Yeah, it's okay, Maggie, look at mine up here. They're not all totally even. But
Now I know I just have to shade in 5 of them.
that's okay, you can label it as a 10. How many do you need to shade in to give you the equivalent of 1/2?
5.
Try it out. Yeah, Holly's checking with her manipulatives, that's a good strategy. Okay, hold up on your fingers the number of pieces you shaded in to get equivalent. Good, everybody's shaded in 5. And then if we check up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does that look like 1/2 of the circle?
Yes.
Good work, guys. And you know what? It's okay if it's a little like, okay, I'm not totally sure what equivalent fractions are, because this is just our first day with them, and we're gonna go break into our groups and do a lot more work and practice. So we're gonna start to get these under our belt and yeah, work on them a lot more. So don't worry, you did a great job today. Give yourself a high five.